Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ram, good evening for everyone from the US joining in. Good morning for those joining in from this part of the uh, world, and humble Sai Rams to one and all. What started off as a Sai Bhagavatam series is continuing. This is our 41st Satsangh. We have been learning, as I would say, baby steps into understanding deeper significance of his message to us as to what we need to do in our everyday lives. And Haryana keeps bringing wonderful people, wonderful blessed souls. And today we have yet another blessed soul with us. And I'm going to let Haryana do the honors of introducing.
Om Shri Sai Ram, pranams at the lotus feet of beloved Bhagavan. A wonderful Saturday morning we are going to have with so much love of Swami. And we are blessed to have my dearest Shankarana. I told him that I won't introduce him formally, which I never do. And today I just like to a small little extra introduction, then Anna can go on forever, that's okay. And in my life, as a village boy of 5-6 years old, the first ever Sai Bhajan I heard was from Anna, Shankarana. And those times we used to have traditional bhajans, and I went to bhajan only for Pongal, not for bhajans. And suddenly I heard a different style of bhajan. And I was so thrilled to hear that bhajan. And that was first bhajan from Shankarana in my life, Sai Bhajan. So I think that is the seed with which slowly Swami has brought me up. And after that, I never saw him. In 1982, Swami called me and my eldest brother, with whom Shankarana knows, Ninath, and Swami called for interview. That day he called Shankarana whole family for interview, and also Paduka Trust Subramani Chettiar and family for interview. And I didn't know that this Shankarana was the one whom I met, because by that time 16 or 15 years crossed by. But after that, in Puttaparthi, there was a mami, funnily we say that BBC mami. She knows who entered inside Prashanilayam, who goes out of Prashanilayam. So sometimes we'll say, Swami has to take cue from her. So that was the fun we used to have to ourselves. And that mami asked, hey, Hari, do you know who went with you for interview? I told, I don't know. Hey, Chinnaputti Mami, son Shankar, like that. Then immediately I understood. Now, fortunately, Shankarana was just opposite in the A floor in W2. In the A floor, he was there. Then immediately I went there. I told I am so and so, and after that, US quite number of times they have called me to their place, Tustin. And a person with he doesn't show outside that he's so much of wisdom, knowledge, and practically, I feel that he's like a realized soul because so much of wisdom, but at the same time, when he is talking to me as though I'm the person very important, but actually not so. It is he who has so much of things which he compile and number hundreds of interviews Swami has given him and his family. You can't count. And Swami will never, not even a single day, he will leave to talk to Shankar. So much Shankarana has been, close to Swami physically too, and his whole family. I know all of them, and it is so nice. Today we are blessed to have him. So I pray to Swami that he gives lots of things, lots of lessons through Shankarana today. And Shankarana from whole of Singapore, US and India, Australia, all our love to you. You are welcome, welcome, welcome. Share your love with all of us. Sai Ram. Thank you.
Shankarana is here to speak on the love of Sai, so it's an apt topic.
Who is that so?
He's going to talk of love of Sai. So over to you, Shankarana.
I didn't see topic. Sai Ram.
Sairam Hari for those kind words. Truly, it came from your heart. And I'm very proud that I came from the same village that you came. But our connection is much more than that because we are all from the same source. What about a village? So it is the same source of Sai. We have all come. So it gives me great pleasure to be part of this satsang. It is Swami who decides how devotees meet, what time does it happen, and who is to be there. It is all divine will. It is not in our hands. And Venkat, thank you for inviting me because I know this has been mainly alumni forum and many boys who have had so much closeness with Swami, like Hari, like Sanam, like I don't know, so many people. And I know all of them, they may not know me. I've been keeping track of all of them. I have great admiration for Swami students. They have so much wisdom. So I don't belong in that elite group, but still you have kindly included me. I want to thank you. And Venkat, it was a great pleasure talking to you the other day because usually I'm not a good conversationalist on the phone. Hardly I talk to people for 2 minutes, and I usually get complained that I sound very cold on the phone. But I don't know, maybe it is contagious from you. You're such a friendly and bubbly person. I kept talking to you, then I was myself shocked. Though then I thought the group that Venkat will bring will be such wonderful people. So it is indeed a great privilege today. And nothing will give me happiness than to talk about Bhagavan, even though I know next to nothing about Swami. So it's going to be a heart-to-heart communication with all of you with the love that I'm receiving. Primarily thanks to Hari who made this possible. And the topic, actually, I asked Venkat for a topic. I said some questions. Such a polite person, but he was very adamant, refused to cooperate with me. He didn't give me a topic. He said it has to come naturally. So Swami gave me the inspiration that talk about is love. There is what else to talk about except the love of Sai. I think love of Sai is the greatest gift to humanity, not just to his students, not just those devotees who had darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan, not those who, even though who didn't see him physically, but had his dreams, had inspiration by reading his books. Not only them, and even those who do not believe in the Sai form, but receive his grace through some other form of divinity, and even those who don't believe in God, but receive their grace through their self confidence. It is all the blessing of Sai. And what a wonderful honor to talk about that. Many years ago, one day, Swami asked me a question. And please feel free to interrupt anytime if you have any questions or anything. That will be okay. And also, Venkat, keep track of the time because already it's lunchtime or whatever it is, and I don't know how
All of
you're
us
all.
have had, I think all of us have had our lunch. So your whatever you're going to speak is food for our hearts. So let's keep
Well,
going.
before lunch, the problem is you're thinking of lunch. After lunch, the problem is you will go into sushupti. So anyway,
Okay.
we will deal with the challenges as it happens. So once Swami asked me a question. He asked, "What is the spelling of love?" You see, when you are with Swami, when you have been with him quite a bit, you know in your heart, not a word, not a gesture, not a thought, nothing is done without a great divine purpose behind it. Swami does not waste his time. He does not waste his words. Even a joke, there is a profound meaning. So when he asked me the question, what is the spelling of love? It was in the early 80s. I was alone with Swami. Then I thought it's an obvious question and it has an obvious answer. So Swami is not asking this question for the obvious answer. I knew in my heart. So I don't want to spoil the moment by answering the obvious answer about the spelling of love. So I kept quiet. Then Swami asked, "What is the spelling of love?" Chapra, Chappu, tell. So I didn't have a choice. So I meekly mumbled, "Swami, Love." And of course, Swami was waiting for it, and with an expression, he was shaking his head. He said, "Wrong answer." I knew, I had anticipated this is the wrong answer. In fact, Swami has asked me so many questions, probably I would have the Guinness Book of World Records among Sai devotees to have given the wrong answer. But every time, by asking a question and my giving a wrong answer, Swami has given a beautiful message behind that question. Then Swami went on to say, see, people worship God by calling him by so many names. You have Ashtottara Namavali. You adore God by 108 names. Sahasranama, you pray to God chanting 1008 names. Satakoti Nama, millions of names. Anni namalu Sai Namame, Anni Rupalu Sai Rupame. All names are Sai names, all forms are Sai form. Then Swami said, among all these names, which best describes me? He asked. Of course, this time I knew this was a rhetorical question and I'm not supposed to answer. So I kept quiet, and Swami himself said, the name that describes me best is Prema Swarupa. He said, God is the embodiment of love. He said, love is all there is. The entire universe is permeated with love. He said the body of an avatar, every cell is suffused with love. Everything he says, is because of his love for the devotees. He said, there is nothing I do, it is not based on love. Oka kshanam kuda dehatma bhava raledu. He said, in me, there is not even for a second I think of myself. There is no body consciousness at all. This is Prema Swarupa. Then I was thinking, see, there is a great saint, Vallabhacharya. He lived in Kashi. He was the founder of the Srinatha tradition. And that is, they worship Bhagavan Krishna as the one who lifted the Govardhanagiri mountain, the black Krishna. And Meera, Sant Meera followed this sampradaya. And that's why she sang, Mere to Giritara Gopala Dusra na koi. For me, there is no one other than the Krishna who lifted the Govardhanagiri mountain. Why did Krishna lift the Govardhanagiri mountain? Because the gopis were doing this Satyanarayana Vrata, the Varalakshmi Vrata. So the rains were coming and they could not. So he lifted the mountain so that they can perform their worship. So this Vallabhacharya is very famous for something called Madhurashtakam. You all might know Adharam Madhuram. Then I was thinking a thought experiment. Later on, after Swami talked about it, when I went to the room, I was thinking, what if Vallabhacharya was a contemporary of Bhagavan? Because Vallabhacharya's philosophy is Shuddha Advaita. He believed Krishna was everything. There is no difference between Nirguna Brahman and Saguna Brahman, and love of God is everything. So I thought Vallabhacharya would have composed a Premashtaham. He would have said, Adaram Premam, Vadanam Premam, Nayanam Premam, Hasitam Premam, Hrudayam Premam, Gamanam Premam, Premadipate Premam Premam. Anybody who has been with Bhagavan, had his darshan even once, even now you can look at the videos of the interviews of Bhagavan or the darshan, you can see that Adaram Premam, when he speaks, it's nothing but love that flows. Vadanam Premam, the face is effulgent with love. Nayanam Premam, his eyes are so compassionate, pouring out love. And Nayanam Premam, Hasitam Premam, his love is filled with love. Hridayam Premam, the heart of Sai is the source of love. Gamanam Premam, when he walks, it's love that is walking. Premadipate, he is the Lord of Prema. Premam, Premam. So coming back to what Swami was telling, he said everything is about the God is love. Then he said, what is the spelling of love? Then he said, S-A-I. Sai is the spelling of love. Then he said, how? S for selflessness, A for awareness, I for innocence. He said, these are the three characteristics of love. Selfishness and love are like oil and water. They don't mix. If you have selfishness in your heart, you can never express love. See, all the worldly love is selfish love. He said, love of the body is kama, lust. Love of the mind is sneha, friendship. But love of the Atman is bhakti or prema. That is the only love that is true love. Of course, the mother's love is the greatest in the world, but even that doesn't compare because she thinks this is my child. For God, everyone is the same. So selflessness is the ultimate. And once when you have developed that quality of selflessness, if you want to understand me, if you want to become one with me, you have to become that love yourself. Otherwise, you will not understand who Swami is, and you will fritter away the chances I'm giving you. So develop this awareness and become innocent like a child. Swami says this selflessness, awareness, and innocence is nothing but Sat Chit Ananda. When all the other selves, the ego creates, are forgotten, the only self that remains is the supreme consciousness, that is Sat. Awareness of that consciousness gives you ananda, bliss, which is innocence, is in essence. So this is the goal. You have to develop this love. Having come and seen Swami, having spoken to him, having touched his lotus feet, having shared this conversation, if you don't develop this love, your life will be wasted. Then Swami said, this is the goal, but what is the path? Then Swami said, the path is also Sai, S-A-I. We all know that S is service, A is adoration, I is inquiry. The only way to become selfless, to get rid of your ego, is through service. Today, I want to focus on the service aspect of it. And depending on time permits, we will go to the other aspects. That how Swami taught me over the years, emphasize, because Swami has always, even the Sai organization, that is service, there is devotion, there is education, which is nothing but service, adoration, inquiry, karma marga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and dhyana yoga, which is nothing but selflessness, awareness, and innocence. But of course, the purpose of service is to overcome ego. See, there was a guru, a disciple came to him, and the disciple told the guru, Guruji, I love you very much, but I find it very difficult to follow your teachings. You know, I have a monkey mind and I cannot control my senses. I have committed so many mistakes. I have committed so many sins. What should I do? Please forgive me. And the Guru said, don't worry. You go to Kashi. Anybody who dips in the Ganges, even one drop of Ganga water falls on you, all your sins are forgiven. So the disciple was very happy. Then he said, yes, I'll go to Kashi right now and get rid of all my sins. He walked a few steps and then came back. Guruji, I have a doubt. He said, what? He said, you know me. I will go and take the dip in Ganges, but my mind is the same. I may commit mistakes in Kashi. What can I do there? Guruji, can I take a dip again? Guruji said, no. It's only a one-time get out of jail card. You cannot do that. Then disciple said, I am going to make mistakes even if I go to Kashi. Then he said, then go to Kumbakonam. There is a pond there, all the sacred rivers, not only Ganga, Kaveri, Ganga, Narmada, Yamuna, everything have collected there eons ago. That water is very sacred. Go and take a dip. Then the disciple asked, yes, I will do it, but what if I commit a mistake in Kumbakonam also? He said, there is no hope for you. So service is the one that will get rid of our ego. But what do? We become very proud of little things we do. But Swami says, you have to understand what is true service. True service is, first you have to develop gratitude. You have to be grateful for everything. You see, we cannot live by ourselves. Even the food, do we produce the food within our body? No, we depend on Mother Earth. Only sometimes the enzymes are produced, but we need food from outside. We need Mother Earth. Do we manufacture the oxygen? No, it is God's gift. We need water as God's gift. Thoughts, do thoughts belong to us? No. Thought come from Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind. Ideas, do they belong to us? Ideas belong to God. Nothing belongs to God. We have borrowed everything from God. Unless we develop that gratitude, we cannot develop an attitude of service. So first develop gratitude, then develop happiness. You have to be happy. The greatest service you can do is to be happy. Then he said, smile. Do not have a castor oil face and a constipated look. Because if you go and try to do service with an attitude like that, they will lose all their confidence. Then he says, speak kindly, very softly. Speak as an acronym, SPEAK, softly, politely, endearingly, affectionately, kindly. You should speak obligingly. You should never hurt anyone, because you do all those service and then you come home and yell at your wife and children. What good is this service? So develop these things and focus 100%. When you do service, nothing else should be in your mind. You should dedicate everything to God. In fact, I remember an incident from Gandhiji's life. He was in South Africa. At that time, many people, especially from Tamil Nadu, have become laborers in there, and they were not treated well. So somebody from the group asked Gandhiji to represent him, a legal against that. So Gandhiji argued against them, won the case, but Gandhi, his friend, and one girl, there was some disturbance there. They were put in the jail and the girl was hurt. So in the jail, the girl she has developed some fever and she had some breathing problems. She was about to die. So Gandhiji pleaded with the authorities to take her to his own place. They didn't have the proper medical equipment. So they had to carry her in a blanket, took her to his room, and the girl was crying. And Gandhiji asked, "Mother, why are you crying?" And the girl said, "Mahatma Ji, I am not crying because I'm going to die." She's a 13-year-old girl. She said, "I'm not afraid of dying. I am telling God, God, you gave me two eyes, 2 ears, 2 hands, 2 feet. I have employed all of them in your service for the freedom of my. Why didn't you give me 2 lives? If you had given me 2 lives, if I die, I will use the second life to again serve with Gandhiji to fight for others." When she said that, Gandhiji started crying. And that's when he took a vow. I am going to spend the rest of my life. He gave up his job. Then he came to India. And then when she was about to die, he asked her uncle, "Can you please sing that song from Tiruvasakam?" So some prayer was sung. Gandhiji was listening. He said, "What is this prayer? What is this culture? Where do you get this courage? Where do you get this attitude of service?" And he said, "I am going to learn Tamil. I am going to learn this Tiruvasakam." So the attitude of service in that little girl that inspired Mahatma Gandhi, then you can understand what Swami is telling about service. Because idam shari, paropakaram artham idam shariram. The purpose that we are given this body is for serving others, not selfishly indulging us. See, this is a lesson, is very hard to learn. Swami was born to inculcate this lesson in us. That's why Deho Devalaya Prokto Jivo Deva Sanatanaha. This body is the temple of God, and the indweller is the Kshetrajna. The Kshetra is the body, the Kshetrajna is the indweller. It's the God that you're serving. And it's only through service you can express your devotion. Only when you express your devotion through service, you will get the wisdom, the pure innocence, that ananda, that bliss will pour forth in you. I would like to share a few thoughts how Swami brought me into this line of thinking. See, unfortunately, when you want to talk about, we have to talk about ourselves. So I prayed to Swami to forgive me for talking some incidents about me. It's like when Swami was coming in the wheelchair, if you take a picture, you will also take a picture of the boy who is pushing the wheelchair. Or if you look at the video darshan of Swami, you will also get the darshan of devotees. And Swami doesn't mind because Bhagavatam is nothing but the story of the devotees and God. And Swami says, Bhaktulu lekapothe Bhagavantude letu, Bhagavantude lekapothe Bhaktude letu. Without God, there are no devotees. Without devotees, there are no God. So when I was a teenager, I had two strong ambitions in my heart. See, life, you should have, at that time, I didn't know that you should have only one ambition in life. Then you can follow through and succeed. And of course, when you have many, many ambitions, I want this, I want this, I want that, we will become master of all. We will become jack of all, but master of none. We will amount to nothing. But I had two very strong ambitions when I was a young man. The first ambition was I wanted to understand the truth about nature, the cosmos, through the medium of science, through the intellect, through reasoning, through logic. I wanted to study, I want to understand. There was a burning desire in me as a young man. On the other hand, I have been so inspired by Swami Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi. I wanted to do service. So I neither became good in either this or that, but Swami, in his infinite compassion, has forgiven me. So, but even as a I was doing my bachelor's in physics and did master's in electronics. So I had an ability to draw portraits. So I will draw the pictures and portraits of saints and sages, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Ramana Maharishi, Vivekananda, Mahatma Gandhi, and all the great saints. But not only that, in my college, we had a book of the photos of Nobel laureates. I will also draw their portraits. Einstein, Newton, Niels Bohr, Dirac, Schrodinger, Max Planck, and Watson and Crick. Like that, each one's picture I will draw. But one thing I noticed, I looked at their eyes. Anybody who searches for truth, their eyes will be burning. It will be glowing because that is the power of truth. I wanted to know the truth, the objective truth through the intellect, and the subjective truth, the ultimate truth through service. This was my goal. Then I finished my master's in Trichy. Then I had applied to Indian Institute of Science. Is one of the finest institutions of science and engineering, the first that was established by Jamshedji Tata. I'm very grateful to him. In fact, there were two Indians who set sail 200 years ago to US. That one was Swami Vivekananda, other was Jamshedji Tata in the same ship, and they changed the course of India when they came back. It was a beautiful institute, and with this, trees, avenues of trees, gardens, and research laboratories, which are truly temples of learning. I got admitted as a graduate student in applied mathematics. I was waiting list in the physics department. But when I went to Chennai to stay with my brother, who was in Indian Air Force, I came to know, I have just gotten acceptance to go there, but I have not gone to Indian Institute of Science. But I came to know another great scientist, the greatest scientist at that time. His name was G.N. Ramachandran, GNR. He was a physicist, a crystallographer, a molecular biophysicist. He was a contemporary of Linus Pauling and Watson and Crick. And in that line, he discovered the triple helical structure of fibers. And he was expecting he will get a Nobel Prize, but he never got. And he was depressed for his life, entire life after that. So I wanted to work with him. So I gave up my opportunity to work in Indian Institute of Science. And when I met with him, he said, I would love to take you as my student. And J.N. Ramachandran was a direct student of Sir C.V. Raman. So he said, I would like to take you as my student, but I'm going to US, Chicago on a Guggenheim Fellowship. But why don't you do a second master's in molecular biology and molecular biophysics? And you can attend my discussion classes and you can work with somebody. And when I come back, you can join me. So, and that is the time I had a fellow student who was interested in philosophy, and we used to talk about philosophy. And then he said, Shankar, I want to tell you something. You're so much interested in philosophy. You talk about service, you talk about this and that. But what if I tell you Bhagavan Krishna has come again? Then I don't know what happened to him, because I have great respect for Bhagavan Krishna. I have great respect for Bhagavad Gita. But then that day I told him, I didn't care for Bhagavan Krishna in the first place. Why would I care if he came back? Then I went home. I was living in Tambram. I used to travel to Guindy to attend college, my master's. Then I felt very guilty. If you are searching for truth, how can you be biased? You have to accept. How can you pass judgment on something without knowing the truth about it? So next day, I went and profusely apologized to him. I said, please forgive me. It was my fault. I should not have told you that. I want to know, who is this person you're talking about? He said, his name is Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And actually, Swami has already entered my life, but I didn't know about him. I didn't connect his name with his form. When my father passed away, he had come to me as an Ashriri inside and given me a prayer, which sustained me. But I didn't connect the dots. So, and he said, I have a book, Satyam Sham Sundaram. It is biography written by Professor Kasturi. I can give it to you. I said, don't give me any biography, or don't give me anything written by devotees. They are over enthusiastic. They exaggerate things. I asked, has he written anything himself? Then he said, I don't have any today. Tomorrow I will bring it. So on a Friday, he brought me two books. Dhyana Vahini and Jnana Vahini, they're only small books. Then I used to travel by train. I took the book. First thing I read was Jnana Vahini. I opened it. First line I read, just as the fog is dispelled by the rays of the sun, ignorance is removed by wisdom, knowledge. It hit these words. In my heart, I knew these are the words of my master. These are the words of my God. At that instant, in fact, after that, I have met Swami so many times, but it didn't change that faith from that day onwards. Because these have to be the words of God. See, that's why we don't know. We think we are going in search of the disciple is not going in search of the guru. The guru comes. We don't know how he will come. He may come through a word. He may come through a vision. He may come through a kind act by somebody else. Or he may come in the form of a disease which you want to be cured. No one knows. In my case, it came as the first line in Jnana Vahini. And I read, I saw the book, I read, I was conquered. And then I read the two books about 20 times over the weekend. I came back and I gave it to my friend. We had to go for a discussion meeting with the professor. And but my friend was disappointed because he has been practicing how to Swami's God and he wanted to utilize his skills, and I didn't give him a chance. So when he said, "What do you think? What do you think?" I said, "I believe what he says. He is God." And my friend was extremely disappointed. All his preparation was a waste. Then it went on. Then one day, my professor asked me to go to his home because now I didn't know what's going to happen. He's going to go away. I have to survive for some time. What is in store? So now that Swami has put the first thing, now he is moving the second one. If Muhammad will not go to mountain, mountain will go to Muhammad. So my professor asked me, then he said, "Shankar, I want to tell you something." He said, "You're going to Indian Institute of Science. The place you rejected for my sake, I'm going to take you there." And I said, "Sir, I thought you're going to US." "Yes, I am going to US, but you're going to Indian Institute of Science." I said, "How is it going to happen?" He said, "I just had a conversation with the director of Indian Institute of Science. His name is Satish Dhawan. He was also the first chairman of Indian Space Commission. He said, he has asked me to start a department in molecular biophysics unit." I told him, "I'm going to US for 1 year, but I told him about you. I said, I'm going to send my student. He will come and set it up. And I have no clue what to do." Then he said, Satish Dhawan said he will accept you as a student for 1 year. He will be your caretaker. Go there. Then I went to Indians of Science. And then there I go, go to the director's office. And I was tiny and he's 6'4". He looks like a movie actor. He did his PhD in aeronautics in Caltech. And then there's this, you see in the movies, this long table. He was sitting at the end and I'm sitting here. And I was shivering. And then he said, "What is your name?" I said, "Oh, you are his student. He talked so much about it, but you look like a kid. Are you sure you're out of high school?" Then he said, then he told me, "I'm too busy. This ISRO, the Indian Space Research I'm working, I promised him I'll take care of you, but I won't have time. You have to be on your own." So then I said, "What about setting up the molecular biophysics unit department?" He said, "No, it has to wait because we have just now allocated the land. The building has to be constructed. So you have nothing to do for 6 months. I'll tell you after 6 months, do what you need to do, then just send me reports." So in the applied mathematics department, they had given one big office to my professor, and that was mine. And they put a board, molecular biophysics unit. There was only staff of one. This one student who had no work to do, didn't know what to do. I went into the library of Indian Institute of Science. I was like a kid in the candy store. There was one section on spiritual books, 10,000 books. Morning 8, as soon as the library opens, I'll go there and I'll be there until 10, they kick you out. Then I will check out some books and then I will be reading in the office. 6 months went like that. And every possible book, every saint, every I was grasping them and reading. And also I met somebody who gave me Sathya Sai Speaks, and there were about 7 volumes that time. I read it over and over and over again. 6 months later, as this was going on, I got somebody came, the director wants to see you. Then I went, and again the same setting, the long table, he was sitting there, I was here. And then he said, "I'm not happy with you." With a booming voice, he said. I got scared. He found out that I didn't do any work. I was reading only spiritual literature. He said, "You know what? Every time I go on travel, I come back, the light is on, whether it is 11 o'clock, 12, 1, or 2 or 3. You're working too hard. You're going to become mad like your professor." Then he pulled out 2 tickets for a circus. He says, "My wife wanted to go for circus, but I'm giving it to you. Today I should not see light in you. I said, Swami saved me. But point is, yoga kshemam vahamyaham. When you depend on God for everything, He will take care. In fact, I'm not a good example of workforce. I'm not a good scientist. I'm not somebody who can be trusted with anything. But Swami has somehow made me survive. Everything is given by him in my life, and the things were going on like that. But in order to go with the theme, I am going to skip and go what happened several years later. So I then, okay, one more thing I want to tell you. So I still had the two ambitions. I wanted to study the truth about nature, truth about cosmos. I wanted to serve society. Then I found out about the Sathya Sai Sevada Swami. So I joined. And I was so happy that I have a chance to work for Bhagavan. I've never been so happy. And I want to tell you something. We hear about the alumni, we hear about the students, we hear about devotees who get hundreds of interviews. But I can tell you, the true heroes of the Sai mission are the Satya Sai Sevada. They don't expect anything from Bhagavan. They give their entire life for him. And I know firsthand because I worked with them hand in hand at Prashantanalayam, in Dharmakshetra, Bombay, in Vrindavan, Whitefield, in Bangalore. Because those I worked with, some of them could be directors, CEOs. There are others who were coolies, who were rickshawalas, uh, taxi drivers, peons, sanitation workers. And every one of them, her devotion to Swami was unbelievable. And they inculcated that feeling of selflessness, that if Swami wants something, I will do anything for him. And that kind of lesson you will not be able to learn in Harvard, MIT, Indians of Science, or Tata Institute of Fundamental Technology, or Indian Center of Technology. It can only be learned at the feet of Bhagwan. And the thing that has set up these kind of devotees are so amazing, you will never see such selfless beings anywhere. It was an object lesson for me. I was so fulfilled in my heart. And later on, I understood. Swami made me understand that there is nothing worldly, there is nothing spiritual. Everything is the same. You are doing God's work. You focus 100% and don't worry about the results. Venkat, are you keeping track? Because I'll keep going.
We are on time. We are on time. We're doing good. We still have about
Can I
40
hear you?
minutes, 40 minutes to go. So you have time. So pace yourself. So whatever.
So I'm okay?
You're okay on time. Yeah.
Okay. So I went and then I was invited to go to Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. And so I finished my thesis and then I switched to computer vision. This was the days MIT, Stanford. So I was working with some of them along with my professor that I was invited to go there. But then I went to Dharmakshetra because I want to serve Bhagwan. That was my number one priority. Then I went there. In 3 months, Swami came to Bombay. So there was a meeting of all the Sevatal, and everybody has been assigned duty. And I said, I also want to do something. And I didn't tell them anything, where I come from, where I work, that I was even Bangalore, Sevadal, nothing. I didn't tell them anything. They said, what can you do? I said, I will do anything you say. Give me something that nobody wants to do. I will do. Then this man said, all duties have been assigned. Only one duty is there. See, lot of people, lakhs of people come during Swami's visit. We hire a professional sanitation team to take care of the toilets and the garbage, everything. They are short of one person. If you are interested, you can do the work. I jumped at it. I'll be happy to do it. He said, do you have experience? I said, I don't have experience, but I will learn in the process. So I was assigned the duty. But then he said, you will not get chance to get Swami's darshan. You will not be able to participate, go to the meetings this is a full-time job. Are you sure you can do it? I said, I would love to do it. So I went there and started doing whatever they told me. And because as Swami said, when you go to service, you become a humble servant. Whatever they tell you do, don't question. And when you develop that kind of attitude, an inner joy will develop with it. Because who is the thief that takes the joy away from us? It is our own ego. It is our own expectations. We want recognition. We want to be patted on the back. We wanted to be noticed. We wanted everyone to know. No, that's not the essence of service. Just become a humble servant. That's why the devotees used to say, Dasanu Das. I want to be the servant of the servant. And it was not an empty statement. They were trying to impress others. So I said, I will do it. So 4 days passed. It was a short visit by Swami. And I had no darshan of Swami. I just did my work. On the last day, Swami was going to go in the after morning darshan. And Swami used to go by the longer, there were 2 routes for Swami to come. The longer route, either he can go by car or he can walk, or there is a staircase where he will step down and go. It was about 300 feet from where the toilets are, where I used to stand. And he never used that. That morning, Swami came. Then I thought, oh, I will at least have a darshan of Bhagavan. And what happened next was incredible. Swami came barefoot. Instead of going to give darshan, he turned. And there was gravel, there was thorns, and it was harsh surface to walk. But I saw 2 lotus feet walking on that, walking towards me. And everybody was gasping, why is Swami walking on this harsh path, the gravel, the thorn? He kept walking, walking, walking. He came very near the toilets where I was standing. Those days, I never used to even look up at Swami. I always used to look at his feet. So I was keep looking at his feet. And the feet stopped there. And there was silence. Everybody was shocked by what Swami is doing. And, and what Swami did next was even more incredible. He bent down so that he can see me. The tears were gushing out from me, and Swami's eyes were moist with tears. And when he lifted his head, I also lifted my head. You see, avatar means descent. He literally demonstrated. He said, it doesn't matter who you are. When you do his service, he knows, and he will come any extent to give and confer his grace. So when he lifted his face, I lifted my face, and we looked at each other and didn't say a word, because if we had spoken, it would have spoiled the moment of connectivity with Bhagavan. And then he walked away. That's how I learned the confirmation within me that God is there for you, no matter what you do. You don't have to be in the front line to tell him that I do this, I do that. Do whatever you want. God is there to help you. So this was the experience of service that happened in Bombay. Many years later, then I came to America, then went back to Prashantalayam. And one of those days, then Swami asked me to teach at the school. I was teaching computer science there and to the students. And one day, the the MBA program has started. So the dean of the MBA at that time, he went and told me, Shankar, I want to talk with you. There's a slight problem. Then I said, what is it? He said, Swami is asking me, he was asking me today, what are all the MBA program, who is giving lectures? Then Swami said, why is not Shankar teaching MBA? Then I told Swami his specialty is computer science. He's not trained in management, so that's why he didn't. But then he kept asking me for 3 days, why is he not teaching at MBA? So then what should we do? I said, sir, I don't know about management program. How can I teach? Then he said, why don't you go and tell Swami that you cannot teach because you're not qualified to teach, but Swami keeps asking. Then at that time, we didn't realize. And then later on, I realized, Mukam karoti vachalam pangayam langam karim. That is, it is the Lord who makes the lame walk, the dumb speak. We think we are the knowledgeable about this subject, that subject. God is the one who will make us speak. God is the one who will make us do things. He could make us do anything we didn't understand at that time. So one day, uh, a student came running. He said, Swami is calling you, the interview room. So I went into the interview room. And then Swami there was a suitcase open. He was looking in the suitcase. There were a lot of medicine packages there. The farm boys were surrounding him. And then as soon as I came, Swami asked, Shankar, what is this medicine? Tell me. Of course, I am not a medical doctor, so I didn't know anything. Only thing I recognized was erythromycin. Swami said, this is all antibiotics, I said. Swami said, hey, jhoot bolta hai. He said, I know you're not that kind of a doctor. You're the useless other kind of doctor. Then Swami started teasing the students. He said, you see, these boys, they are suffocating here. See, Swami means only bhajan, meditation. They want to go to America. Why don't you take them? The boys were saying, Swami, we want to be with you. We don't want to go anywhere. But Swami was in a mood to tease all of us. So he said, no. You take them there. Will you take them there? Of course, I cannot say yes, I cannot say no, because this is the first time Swami has asked me so. But I cannot say yes because Swami will never want anybody to leave him. So I kept quiet. Then Swami asked me a very profound question. He said, are you a fool or an idiot? Very direct question. And everybody was shocked. I was also shocked. And then I said, Swami, in my mind, I was thinking, I'm qualified to be a fool, very qualified to be an idiot, but which one am I? And then Swami said to everybody, a fool is someone who makes a mistake occasionally. An idiot is the one who keeps repeating the same mistake over and over again. And he left it at that. Then I kept thinking about it. What is the significance? Because as I was telling you at the beginning, whatever Swami tells, there is great significance. So one day I was in the shower, and then it dawned. See, how is word idiot spelled? IDIOT. If you reverse the third and fourth letter, it says IDOIT. Anybody who believes I do it with an ego sense, I'm the doer, is an idiot. The big lesson I learned in my life from Bhagavan. So the service when we have to do, when we think that I do it, we become at that very instant idiots. And we will not be able to experience the love that Swami wants to teach us. In fact, I had a friend in Bombay. I met him many years after in Prashanthanayam when I went. He was telling an interesting incident that he was traveling by a coach from Bombay to Prashanthanayam. And there, while he was traveling, there was a few rowdies who were in the train who are playing cards. They were making noise, disturbing the people. So how are we doing time-wise? Tell me
We
when
have
to stop.
we have about 25 minutes to go.
Okay.
25, yeah.
So he was traveling in the train, and these people were making a lot of noise. And they were asked, and then he was in the sleeping berth, putting Swami's picture, started worshipping. Then they made fun of him. Oh, you are worshipping this miracle man. And he got into an argument with them, and then very heavy argument, and he was very upset with them. So when he got down at Bukapatnam, these rowdies also got down. He said, why are they getting down here? Then he got into the bus to Puttaparthi. They also got into the Puttaparthi bus. And then when he went for darshan, they were also sitting next to him in the first line. Then my friend thought, okay, now Swami is going to teach them a lesson. For all the thing they did, they made fun of me, they made fun of Swami. Swami is going to come and talk to me and ignore them and teach them a lesson. And Swami came. He ignored my friend and greeted them and took them for interview. He was shocked. I am the devotee, Swami. These people are talking ill of you. They insulted your devotee. What are you doing? After the interview was over, Swami slowly walked towards my friend. He said, what happened in the train? Then he was about to, Swami said, I know. Come for an interview. So he took him inside. He said, why are you fighting with them? You are not a good devotee. I'm very upset with them. You see, you struggled hard for an hour to convince them. It took me only 30 seconds. They now believe that I am God. As a devotee, your behavior is very important. Even if they talk ill of Swami, what difference does it make? Why do you lose your temper? Your behavior is service to God. You should never lose your temper. You should never get into a fight. You should be always humble. That's what I'm teaching you. So Swami is teaching us this life is service. In fact, I want to share with you one more example. What happened in Kodaikanal. I talked at it's 1992, and he said he remembers that trip, and because he used to go to Coimbatore and then from there go to Kodaikanal. That particular year, Swami didn't go that way. And of course, I told you that we are Swami students. Interesting incident happened. One day, my brother and I were with Swami. There was a senior devotee of Swami. Then Swami, that man asked Swami, who are these boys? Swami said, they are from California. They are my boys. We were so happy that Swami considered us as his boys. Then this devotee asked, but Swami, are they your old student? Swami immediately said, no, because when they come, there was no college. And he left it at that. And then next year, I was talking to Swami. When in Vrindavan, we were with Swami. And then Swami asked me a question. He said, I want to ask you something. Why are you not getting closer to Bhagavan? What is it that's preventing you? See, millions of people want to be with Bhagavan, one chance. Why are you not showing enthusiasm? I know you believe Swami is God. I know you worship me. I know you adore me. But why are you not desiring to be close to Swami, to be physically near Swami? See, when you come be with me, I can teach you so many things. Why are you not doing it? Then I said, Swami, we want to be dear to you. But I've seen so many people who come near and they rapidly rise and they disappear. I don't want to be one of them, Bhagavan. I want to be always dear to you because you know what? I fear myself more than you. I fear my ego. Swami said, only when you do wrong, you have to have fear. In fact, many, many years later, he taught me the significance. What does Upanishad means? Upa means near. Shad means dear. Ni means no fear. So, true meaning of Upanishad is to be near and dear to God with no fear.
Wow.
So, Swami said, why do you feel that? Then Swami said, I assure you. See, when you go in a running race, many people run. Does everyone finish it? No. I assure you, you will never leave me until the end. I grant you that boon. But you should be with God all the time. You should want to be near. You should want to be dear, but you should have no fear. But in order to have no fear, you should have no ego. You should serve society. You should think God is everything. In fact, an experience that had happened many, many years ago, I was in Bombay. A friend of mine, very, very wonderful devotee of Bhagavan, he said there is a place called Ganeshpuri. There is hot springs. It's a very, very sacred place. There is a temple. And he said there used to be a saint called Nityananda. He has attained Mahasamadhi now. But if you want, we can go to the temple. We can take bath in the hot springs. And he says, you will be able to meditate because we want to meditate and think of Bhagavan all the time. Why don't we go on a trip? So we went on the trip. A room in a hotel, a small room, and then got up early morning with great enthusiasm, went to the hot springs. And of course, the beauty about the hot springs is it's steaming hot on the top and it's freezing bottom. So it was a wonderful experience. It's a sulfur water. And then we came to the temple. And then this Shiva temple, I started to meditate. It was around 3:30 in the morning. As soon as I sat, tremendous pain all over the body. I could not sit. Something said, no, get out. So I walked out. My friend came. What happened? I said, something is preventing me. I cannot sit and meditate there. We went back to the room. We took some rest, and then we came back. I said, let's try it again. We have come to this place. There is some power in this temple. We have to sit and meditate. Again, the second time, same thing happened. So 7 times it happened. Then there was one sadhu who was watching this. He said, this looks strange. Your guru or your God is not allowing you to meditate here. But he said, okay, why don't you go? There is a Mahatma there nearby. His name is Harihar Baba. Go and see him. Get his blessings. You are not destined to meditate in this temple here. So my friend and I went to see Harihar Baba. Here was this giant man and with a lot of tejas. He was sitting there. Then as soon as we came, he said, oh, Padela Admi aa gaya. Oh, the one, you are a very well-read person. Come, come. I was waiting for you, he said. So we both sat. Then he asked, do you have any questions? He was talking in Hindi and half English, half Hindi. Then I said, I have no questions. Then for some reason, he started scolding everybody. He said, you are Vivekananda, you are Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, you are Sathya Sai Baba. What do they know? Then he said, Vivekananda said Kundalini Yoga and all that. My guru taught me the true Muladhara chakra is in the heart chakra. Everything is above. What is all said in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is not right. He said, come, become my disciple. I will teach you everything. I will take you. I kept quiet. I kept on listening to him, and he went on this triad for a long time. And I said politely, I said, Guruji, thank you for asking me to be your devotee and disciple. But my heart is already given to Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I came here to respect you. Even here, I only see him in you. I cannot see your form. I cannot accept that. Kindly forgive me. Immediately he got so mad. He said, how dare you talk to me? Get out of here right now. So we were shivering and we were going. Then as we were going, he shouted, where are you going? Atiti Devo Bhava. I cannot send you like that. Come back. So we came. Then he told the host in the house, bring them some patata vada and chai. Let them eat. Of course, we were in no mood to eat. We were shivering. And he is full of raudram. What to do? Then they brought, and then he said, eat. So I was so afraid. I put it, and it was so hot, and I burned my throat. Then he waited for us to finish. Then he had calmed down. He said, come, Aja. He said, take my Pada Namaskar. I touched his feet. Then he took an apple and gave it to me, and he was smiling. He said, I was testing you. A disciple should always be faithful to his Guru. No matter what you go, you should never give up your faith. No matter who promises what, your Guru, your God, if he had told me that immediately accepted my offer, I would have truly kicked you out. He said, I bless you that you will never leave your Guru as long as there is breath in your body. So I remembered that Swami said, you will never leave me. You come. Then that's the time he said, come with me to Kodaikanal. I'll teach you so many things. Spend time with Swami. Learn everything you can, because you will not get these chances. These are all once in a lifetime. You don't know how much you should have pined for God. If you miss it now, it may take another millennia for you to get another chance to be at the feet of an avatar. So then, 92, we went with Swami to Kodaikanal. And that year, he didn't go to Ooty, he didn't go to Coimbatore. He went straight to via Pollachi to Dindukal, and then Kodai Road, and then Kodaikanal. And then we had a wonderful time there. And I want to share only a couple of experiences. One with respect to service, another with respect to our state of mind. And probably I will share one more experience and I will stop with that. That should be enough for another 15 minutes, right, Venkat?
Yes, we are all good on that. Yeah.
Okay. So we went on the trip, and then Swami, the Vice Chancellor of the university, the Institute of Higher Learning, came, and then Swami introduced us. He introduced, this is Vice Chancellor from the Institute. We already knew him, but then Swami introduced, we greeted him. Swami said, these are my boys from California. Then he said, this is Shankar Trishanku, this is Sunil Trishanku. I don't know where the word Trishanku came, because he knew that was not our last name. So we have suddenly become Trishankus. And then the Vice Chancellor had his eyes open. He said, then he whispered, I didn't know your last name was Trishanku. I said, I myself find out just now that my name is Trishanku. Swami said, these boys, they are neither Americans nor Indians. They are confused. They are neither here nor there, like Trishanku, who was hanging between heaven and earth. Remember, long ago, there was a movie called ABCD, American Born Confused Daisies. But Swami had given us a new title, IBACD, Indian Born American Confused Daisies. He said, that's why I myself have to teach them everything. That's why I brought them to Kodaikanal. So one thing happened interesting. There, my brother Sunil was with the other boys upstairs next to Swami's room in the Kodaikanal, Sai Shruti. And Swami asked me to stay downstairs guest room with his other guests. There were two others, and we stayed in that room. And then somebody told me, we have assigned somebody to clean the bathroom and all that. You don't have to worry about, they will come. So first 2 days, nobody came. Probably that particular person felt sick. So I informed them, but everybody was so busy. So the bathroom was not in the best shape it should be. Because sometimes Swami uses that guest room as his interview room because the second room has not been built by them. So the third day, I could not hold it. So I went myself during because between after lunch, there will be 2 hours, nothing will happen. Swami will go upstairs to give people some rest. Because with Swami, it will be 14 to 15 hours of continuous satsang, being in the presence of Bhagavan every day for almost a month. So then I went and bought some supplies to clean everything. I went and cleaned the whole thing. Just when I finished, already Swami had come, so we all assembled in the room. And then Swami, somebody gave Swami, I think, a baby corn. He tasted it, and then suddenly he got up. He said something. Then he came near me. Then I stood. And then Swami almost whispered in my ears, "See, that baby corn I ate, it got stuck. I need to clean my teeth." He said, "May I use your bathroom?" I was shocked. "Swami, this Sai Shruti is your house. This whole universe is yours." Then I had tears. Swami said, "No, no, Atiti Devo Bhava. Guest is God. Here you are a guest. It's your bathroom. Even if I am God, I have to ask you. That is proper protocol." I said, "Swami, is there no limit this how to behave, how to live, how to serve, how many things you're teaching?" And Swami went inside. After 2 minutes, he came, and then I was sitting down. Swami came near, and then I stood up. Again, Swami literally whispered in my ears. Swami said, "The bathroom is very clean." See, he had acknowledged the work that was done, but he said the bathroom is like a Brahmin's bathroom. The floor was wet. You see, Swami's robe, if it hangs down, it'll become wet. How can I sit with the boys there? So I had to hold the robe with one hand and I have to clean my teeth with the other hand. When you clean the bathroom, you should have had the faith that Swami will come. You should have taken a towel and dried the floor. That Swami didn't have to do it. You see, he observes everything. The lesson many lessons I learned, that no matter where you are, you should respect everyone. And you should remember Atiti Devo Bhava, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava. You have to, Acharya Devo Bhava, you have to really respect everyone. God himself sets an example. And second, when you do a work, you should do properly. You should always feel that God himself will come there. Whether you do work at home, at office, you should say, "Swami will come anytime. I will have to do that work." I want to share with you one more experience, and I will stop. This happened in 96. Swami's after the 92 trip, and I only took 2 leaves, but Swami said he was going to go for 2 weeks. Then he extended to 3 weeks. He extended the trip to 4 weeks. Then I had to keep getting leave, and it was impossible. Those days there was no connectivities. I could not work from there. So Swami said, "Come again to Kodaikanal." Then the one question I dreaded was Swami was going to say, "Come again to Kodaikanal." Everybody wants to go. Then I said, "How am I going to get leave to come?" So 96, we went again, and Swami said, "It's okay. I know you have leave problem. Come for a week." So we went to Swami for 1 week. So since we went to see Swami only for 1 week, we didn't want to bother Swami to stay with him. We found our own place. A small guest house up 7,000 feet high with a spectacular view, small room. So we went there, and the first night we went, there was a small gap in that door. It was freezing, and that place was called Nest. So we got Swami's darshan the first day, and then Swami said, "When did you come?" Then he said, "That day, I think it was the Tamil New Year day, and there was a feast." Swami said, "Come and join lunch." So we all joined Swami for lunch. And while I was eating, Swami asked, "Where are you staying? How much you are paying?" Because Swami didn't want us to waste money, so we didn't stay in the expensive hotel. And I said, "Swami, this much." Swami said, "Only that much?" No, no, that's not true. Then he said, nest, no rest. All night you couldn't sleep because it was cold. He said, "Go to a better place." That was not a good place to do. So we then moved to another hotel. And one day we were coming, our taxi didn't come in time. So we walked from the hotel to Sai Shruti for the evening darshan. Morning and evening we'll come and join. So evening we were coming, and there was such a shower. We were completely drenched and all wet. So we went back to the hotel. Then we redressed ourselves, came back. By the time Swami had come, he had gone into the hall. We were sitting there, and we were late. And I had no place to sit. I could not sit in the usual place where Swami sits, where the students sit. So I sat that day. There were two gates. The main gate, main entrance, Swami come out of the hall, and a side entrance in Kodaikanal, in the Sai Shruti, the big hall. So I sat in the side entrance at the very corner, tiny spot I sat. And that day Swami gave a discourse. He was telling, how should you consider God? He said, you should think of God as a friend. Initially, you are the servant of God. Then you should become the friend of God. He said, how to do service, the best way to do service, he said, Gita teaches in chapter 13. Adveshtam sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukachama santushtam satatam yogi yatatma drida nischaya. If you want to do service, adveshta, you should have hatred towards none. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha. You should have compassion, but you should be friendly. Nirmamo nirahamkara, without ego, without sense of I and then. Samadukka sukachami, whatever the result, good or bad, pain or pressure, accept them. And santushtam satatam yogi, be contented, always be the yogi. And such a one, nirmamo nirahankara, Mayarpitam manor buddhim, the one who has surrendered everything to me, his mind and intellect, is very, very dear to me. Then Swami said, try to be a friend of God. Then Swami said, it's like this. See, if someone comes to your house, if a postman comes, if a worker comes, you talk to them outside the house. If some dignitary comes, a visitor comes, you make them come to the living room. And then you give them coffee, let them go. Of course, if family comes, they will come all over the house, whether you want it or not. But a friend comes, he has freedom to go anywhere. He can go to the kitchen, he can go to the bathroom, he can go to the bedroom. Similarly, if you become a friend of God, he will give you the freedom to be close to God, to be near God, to be dear God with no fear. So become a friend of God. Aspire to be a friend of God. So he finished the talk. And then after the talk was over, instead of going by the main entrance, Swami looked at me. Then I saw me sitting in an inconspicuous corner near the door. There was no path for him. The students have completely covered. He told them to split them. He walked straight. And then when he came near, he put his hand like that. I didn't know what to do. I was keeping my hand like that. Swami said, give me a high five. I was shocked. Then I gave him a high five. Swami said, Patha friend, old time friend. And there was the former IG of police was there. He said, he is my Patha friend. So, dear brothers and sisters, God is our oldest, dearest, and nearest friend. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I hope this time was worthwhile for you.
Absolute bliss, Anna, absolute bliss. No, the words God is a friend. That's the high five was the best part at the end. Uh, it connects us so much to him. Haryana, would you like to say a few words? Unmute yourself if you want to. You muted.
Sairam, Sairam Shankaranna, it was just bliss this morning. Sorry, I'm in a treatment center. Somebody disturbed me. I didn't know it is on. Forgive me first. And regarding your sharing your heart out this morning with us, we are very grateful to Swami. And this is a small tip of the iceberg, my dear brothers and sisters. You could see how Shankaranna and Sunil Trishanku have like, so how much opportunity, even we students were not that fortunate as uh, Shankaranna is or Sunil is. So that is why so much of love and respect. As I told, still we have to learn lots from Shankaranna. And I will really feel that we have to have Shankaranna many times because he has only touched a small aspect as a friend. And before doing service, how we have to be, so many points he has brought out. And it is for us to keep on chewing in our mind and then emulating ourselves. These examples, what Shankarana has talked to us, so much of experience, Shankarana, I am jealous of you. Jealous means in a good way, nothing. But it is so much, it touched our heart. I am grateful to you because Swami introduced me to you. So throughout my life, and all of us together, we convey our gratefulness to Swami and to you, Anna. So you should, whenever you get, whenever we will also see and we will again and again call you, please share your personal experiences. I know you had a big search because from your young age, you are big researcher in the field of spirituality, apart from science. And so much you have got. So we would like to have you again and again, many more times, and hope you will agree for that and you will come. Thanks a lot, Anna. Thanks a lot.
I will take it as a
Saira,
command from
Saira.
Bhagavan, but don't scare them. So let's
No,
wait for a while.
I call this.
No, no.
I call this the triple S: science and spirituality infused with Sai, or
Yes.
Sai from Sai, science and spirituality, whatever you want to call it.
Venkat, if we go, we should get from him all his experiences with Swami. This is my so much, we are
Absolutely.
indebted.
I
That's all.
think it takes a lot of effort for someone to say that when opportunities come one's way, if one does not realize what they can do, where they are, I think that's a very big lesson for all of us. Prashanti is in our hearts, and Prashant Swami is there where we think of him, right? And that was the biggest lesson that I could get from hearing Anna speak on the fact that despite Swami saying, "Do you want to be near?" and that those answers that came absolutely profound. Lots of lessons for all of us. As always, blissful. What normally happens as a weekend, end of a weekend for us on a Sunday, Swami has infused the start of a weekend for us, and it's the start of the weekend for also for Anna for staying up so late. It's 10:30. Let me not take more of your time, but hoping to have you again. There are a lot of young minds who need to be inspired, and I think not just the fact that Sai, there was a Satish Dhawan earlier, there's the spirituality aspect. There's so many things that we can connect with. Hopefully, we'll get more younger minds also to join and we can have a satsang only for them. There's a different way of connect involved in that, and I'm sure they will be able to relate many of the things that you have said. So thank you so very much. Great gratitude to Swami for bringing all of you every week. We'll finish with 21 Samastalokas.
Saira. Saira.
समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु 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 समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय। Saram, thank you, Swami, thank you everyone, and have a blessed weekend ahead. Sai Ram.